Welcome to the Duarte City Council meeting. We appreciate your coming this evening. And this is a regular meeting of the Duarte City Council, and let the record show that Mr. Kang will be about 10 or 15 minutes late, and the rest of us are here. And if we could have the pledge to the flag, and could we have the best librarian in the whole world come up and do the pledge to the flag for us? Thank you, Joanna.
Put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. All right, our item 3 is the adoption of the agenda as it is written. Do we have a motion?
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt the agenda as it has been written and published. Is there any discussion? Any objections? If not, so ordered. Okay, we are now at special items, and the first item is 4A, and that is the Energy Savings Program for Residents. Presentation is by the San Gabriel Valley Council of Governments. Good to see you. Thanks for coming.
Good evening. Do I need to turn this? Okay. You can all hear me okay? Perfect. Thank you all for having the COG speak today on our new Efficient San Gabriel Valley program, or ESGV for short. Next slide, please. So a little bit of background on what this program is. The ESGV program provides no-cost home energy assessments to residents of the San Gabriel Valley. We'll go into a little bit more detail on what an assessment entails in just a little bit. But just to continue with background, this program is presented in partnership with the SoCal REN. That's a service administered by the county and funded by the CPUC. For those of you who might remember the EASY program, this is a rebranded and updated version of that, following the sunset of the EnergyWise partnership at the end of 2021. And ESGV is currently a pilot program, meaning that it's currently planned to run to the end of this year. Next slide, please. So the goals of this program are to really provide residents with the information, knowledge, and resources they need to implement energy efficiency upgrades in their homes. And with those upgrades, we hope that residents will save money, save energy, and just overall make their homes more comfortable. And then one of our bigger overarching goals is to educate residents throughout the San Gabriel Valley on the importance of energy efficiency and residential sustainability so they can start making changes in their own homes. Next slide. So how the program actually works. Right now, we offer assessments both online and in person. So an online assessment would be through a video chat like Zoom. And then these appointments can be scheduled on our website or by phone. So once an assessment is scheduled, 2 trained assessors from the San Gabriel Valley COG will guide residents through an ESGV checklist and presentation. We'll dive a little bit deeper on those in just a little bit. But both the checklist and the presentation use a whole house approach. So we're going to evaluate building materials. So checking, how well the home is sealed, making sure there's no leaks. As well as heating and cooling systems. So, HVAC, windows, all of that. And then lighting, appliances throughout the home, and then indoor and outdoor water usage as well. So following the assessment, residents will receive a tailored report with both long-term and short-term priority recommendations. We also go ahead and list out any financial resources that resident would be eligible for. So any rebates, incentives, or other savings programs. So here's a closer look at the checklist I mentioned earlier. The checklist breaks the home down into different sections and even further breaks that down into different identifiable actions. So we'll sit down with the residents, see, you know, what they're already doing, what they might be interested in implementing next, and see if we can just give them any advice or guide them with any of the projects they might be interested in pursuing. So this is a closer look at the presentation. We use this a lot during the online assessments. They have a little bit more detailed and technical information, so we provide a printout of this during in-person assessments. And each item on the checklist will correspond to some more detail in the presentation itself. This is what the report looks like. So again, you can see 3 short-term priority recommendations would be highlighted, and then 3 longer-term recommendations would also be highlighted. And then following that, the rest of the recommendations that we've discussed during the assessments would be included. Here's what a recommendation might look like. So it would have, you know, the recommendation itself, a little bit of the reasoning of why this can save energy and save money, and then it'll indicate how the resident can get started with the project. So typically a link or another source to find more information. And then this is what the savings section of the report would look like. So the beginning part of this section has a list of all the different programs and resources available. And then following that, we have more detailed tables with information on specific rebates, rebate amounts, as well as any eligibility information for certain savings programs. Beyond the assessments themselves, we also do community outreach and events. So we booth throughout the San Gabriel Valley. We have interactive activities, games, and we hand out energy efficiency prizes, you know, like low flow shower heads and fun stuff like that. So residents can also sign up at these events, and we try to spread as much energy efficiency knowledge as possible. So we definitely recommend checking us out if you see us at an event in the San Gabriel Valley. In addition, inviting us to a presentation or an event does contribute to the Energy Champion Awards progress of the City of Duarte. So you will be getting credit for this presentation today. And then other ways you can contribute are by completing a marketing campaign for ESGV. And then again, hosting a booth at a community event. So that's it for me. Thank you so much. I'm happy to take any questions, or my email is up on the screen if you'd like to contact me later.
Okay, Joanna, thank you. We appreciate your coming here and definitely enlightening us on things that we should know about. Do I have any of my colleagues that would like to ask any questions or make comments? Okay, you just covered everything so thoroughly. All right.
Thank
Thanks
you so
very
much.
much, Joanna.
Thank you.
Okay, our next item is item 4B, and I believe we have someone that would like to speak on that. Steve Hernandez. You want to wait until after? Okay.
Good evening, Mayor Finley, Council. This month is Parks Make Life Better month. So we are celebrating big here in the city of Duarte, as are most recreation departments throughout the nation. But we kicked off in a very big way last week with our July 3rd celebration. I should say rather our Independence Day celebration and fireworks show. We had a grand total of 5,172 attendees, and that's we didn't start clicking right when we let folks in the gates. So we can safe to say we broke that 5,000 mark. We had a great, in addition to a great turnout, we had some great food trucks, great performance by Duarte Dance, also Chico the Band, and our very own cameo by Councilmember Garcia, and a nice 20-minute fireworks show that concluded and really lit up the sky for our late Mayor Pro Tem Paras Karachi. In addition to that, moving forward this month, we have our first concert in the park on actually tomorrow at Beardsley Park, and that will start at 6 with the live DJ, and then the band, the Wise Guys Big Band from based out of the city of Montebello, where yours truly went to school. So we have booked them for tomorrow night. So it should be a fun night. We'll have some jumpers, food trucks, vendors out there. So hopefully you're available to join us along with the rest of the community. And then in addition to that, on the 27th of July, we'll have our second concert. That will feature the Breeze Band. That again will be at Beardsley Park, same start time, 6 DJ, 7 o'clock band. And then we'll have our last concert at the beginning of August. Also later this month, we'll be having a dive-in movie. We'll be screening the Disney and Pixar's Luca. That will start at 7 o'clock, and there is a small nominal fee for residents, and then non-residents are still invited, and there's a little bit of an uptick in terms of their fee. We'll have dinner provided. It'll be a fun night. So if you have any grandchildren or young ones yourselves, or if you just haven't seen Luca, please join us, the Duarte pool. And then just save the dates, Touch a Truck, which will happen here this year in the Civic Center. Will be on August 6th, and we'll have a bunch of trucks, vehicles, city vehicles, buses and so forth, PD, whatnot, out there for our little ones to enjoy, a really nice family fun event. And then also, because I was asked, I'll just let you know that our city picnic celebrating the city's 65th year of incorporation will be held on September 24th at Royal Oaks Park. So you can calendar that as well. Questions?
Typically, you've not had Touch a Truck on a Saturday.
That's correct.
And so why did we opt for that?
We try to mix it up a little bit because we heard some feedback last year that residents were a little disappointed that it was during the week, during their working hours and so forth. And so we're kind of spreading the wealth and doing it on a Saturday morning, so you can come out, have the experience, and then, enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Okay,
All right.
good.
Any other
Questions or
questions?
comments? The only thing I just want to comment on was that was such a fun concert and fireworks. I have to admit that I did receive some, which I think I forwarded on to you, some remarks from people saying, your fireworks show was so much better than
Blank. Yes.
blank.
Uh-huh.
And so no, Tony, you troublemaker. So anyway, congratulations. It was a huge win.
Yes, the team did awesome. Thank you so much.
Okay, any other comments? Okay.
My turn.
Oh, that's right. You want to talk.
Yeah. This is the third one I've been to now. Actually, the third one we've had. And, it seems every time we do it, it gets better. And by better, I mean, it's more organized. What you did differently this time with no parking on Brycedale and Bloomington really helped with getting people in and out. And that was really extraordinary. I thought that was by far one of the best things that we doing traffic control really enjoyed, is that it was so much more organized, and everything else just fell into place so well. In fact, there was one of the pyrotechnic people that saw the cool shirts we were selling, and she had to go out and get one. So another compliment to the city. And I just thought it was incredible. It was well done, and even public safety did their part. So just wanted to compliment Manuel again for another job well done. And I'm getting tired of the surprises he brings about, but every time he gets involved, it's incredible. So good choice.
Thank you, Steve. Okay, so we are now at announcements of upcoming community events, and I think, Joanna, you turned one in. Can't find it, but anyway, come on up, Joanna. Announcements, there we go. Perfect.
Good evening, City Council. Joanna G. from Duarte Library. We have an upcoming program tomorrow called Scratch Art for Teens at 3:30 p.m. Our original date was canceled because we had to close the library due to heat, due to our HVAC not working, but it's all corrected now. We also have Smarty Pants Story Time. The new session is going to start Fridays, July 29th, and will end September 2nd. It's from 11 to 11:30 and registration is required. We also have another special program coming up in August called The Tale of the Lucky Cat. And this is on Tuesday, August 2nd at 3 p.m. Registration is also required. And we also have a new batch of COVID kits. So if you know anybody that needs a COVID kit, feel free to send them down to the library. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Joanna. Okay, anyone else like to speak under announcements of, oh, Victoria?
Hey, council members,
How are
I'm
you?
here representing Anytime Fitness, but the chamber in regards to some updates. So wanted to update you guys, and Shoshana's sad she couldn't make it today, but she'll be here next time to give you a little bit more in-depth updates and answer any questions for you afterwards as well. But the farmer's market, we were pleased that the farmer's market showing week over week growth, with one exception of the day of thunder and lightning. So that was a crazy day for everybody, I'm sure. And farmers are reported slow but steady growth in business. Again, Shoshana will present a little bit more specific update in August, giving a full 2 months worth of sales figures to review. Our next big marketing push is to celebrate National Farmers Market Week, August 7th through the 13th. And this will include a scavenger hunt and a social media contest as well. Installation dinner. So we hosted our first fully in-person installation dinner on the 25th of June. It was a beautiful, successful event, and we thank all who attended. And I actually missed it, so I had some personal matters, but I heard it was a party, so I'm sad I missed it. But we look forward to hosting it again in person again next year. Special thanks to Mayor Finley for introducing our new board of directors. Councilmember Lewis for leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and to Councilmember, gosh, I don't want to mess this up, Trong, for attending. Did I say that right? Okay. And yeah, so awesome stuff. And then travel to Spain and Africa. We still have space available for upcoming trips to South Africa and to Spain. Personally, I hear the food in Spain is the best, so I personally might be gunning for that. So that would be awesome. You guys have to let me know if you've been there. If there is any interest, be sure to contact the chamber for more information. And then I have some copies available too about the trip, but Shoshana would be the go-to for that as well. That's it for me. Just a couple of 2 cents on the farmer's market. It's awesome. I got some sourdough, it's cheddar and jalapeno. Just finished that up today for lunch, made some sandwiches, got some cheese I don't know how to pronounce, but apparently it's amazing for grilled cheeses along with sourdough. And I had a popsicle mojito, which had a hint of mojito, which is pretty refreshing for a summer night. I think they're going to circle back around, and hopefully you guys will approve of the chamber also to have a later ending time for the farmers market. I know a lot of the vendors mentioned that people start coming a little bit later in the evening when the sun is not so hot. So hopefully we'll get that going soon too, but it's pretty great. So it's growing, it's getting there, but we'd love to see you out there every Wednesday. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. That farmer's market is fun. And those bread products, wow, they're fabulous.
It's always good to see new chamber members up here too. I don't think you've ever had a chance to address council before, so I got to meet someone new today as well. Excuse my throat, I am not sick, I promise. It's more from strain. Just a few announcements. Since the last council meeting, the new website launched. So I hope council and residents and businesses have had a chance to look, especially at both on your phone and on the desktop, which are totally different looks. On the phone, it looks more like an app because we broke everything down into icons using data to say, these are the most searched parts of our website that people are looking for. Then, of course, on the desktop, you actually got to see a video of our fireworks show from a few years ago to advertise the July 3rd event. So we hope people find it to have greater functionality, easier to find things, but of course, we always welcome feedback. So there's places all on the website that says, do you want to submit feedback? Every page says that. So if you find something, because we know there are still updates that need to be made, please don't hesitate to send those our way. Additionally, most of our Parks and Recs events were covered. So I'm going to cover Public Safety's event that's coming up. We have National Night Out, which will be this year an emergency preparedness fair. And that will be on August 2nd from 5 to 8 p.m. at Encanto Park. Come learn how to keep your family safe and meet deputies and firefighters in your area. Also enjoy the free hot dogs and inflatables for the little ones. Test your aim at the Dunk a Deputy fundraiser. So that should be a lot of fun. The last announcement that I have, we have Mayor Pro Tem Zaidul Parz-Karachi's memorial coming up this Saturday, and that is going to be here at City Hall. The doors will open at 9:30. Program starts at 10. There'll be a reception to follow. We are anticipating a lot of people, so there will be limited seating and then standing in this room with overflow going to the outside, where there'll be TV set up. Knowing that there are going to be so many people, we are going to be creating a memory book for the family, and we have had these cards made up to share a memory, write a message to the family. And we've brought some of those today to our council meeting. So even if you plan on attending the event this Saturday, I encourage you to fill out one of these memory cards today. You can either leave it here in the basket, or you can bring it with you on Saturday and turn it in then if you want some time to think over what your message to the family is. But we're going to have so many people, it will logistically really help us out if you want to write your message in advance. And those are my announcements. Any questions?
Okay, any questions or comments?
I hope you all understood me.
We did.
Okay. All
We
right.
got every third word.
Oh, no.
No,
Okay.
we're fine.
Thank you so much.
All right, thanks very much, Victoria. Okay, any other people that would like to speak under upcoming community events? Okay, then we will go to oral communications, and oral communications is the time for people to speak to items not on the agenda, if they would like to do so, and please limit your remarks to 3 minutes. Okay, seeing no one step forward, we will go to item 7, which is our consent calendar, and this consists of items A through K. What is your pleasure, council?
Motion to approve.
I second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the consent calendar. Items 7A through 7K. Any discussion? Any objections? If not, so ordered. There were no items removed from consent, so we will go right to the business items. The first one is 9A, which is discussion of options for filling the city council vacancy.
Thank you, Mayor. Giving that report this evening will be our city attorney, Ms. Span.
Thank you. Good evening, members of the council, Mayor Finley. I'm actually a little nervous. I don't tend to do the presentations, but unfortunately, I am here again to do a presentation on how to fill a vacancy. And we do have to do this under the government code. It does mandate that we do take some action. And so there is a 60-day deadline as mandated by the government code to fill a vacancy, either through appointment or through a special election. And it has to happen within 60 days of the vacancy. That deadline is August 24th, 2022. So the failure to appoint within that time results in a special election. So the first option you have is obviously to appoint. City council may vote to appoint. Oh, can you go back a? There you go. So the city council may vote to approve the appointment timeline, call for applications, and set a date for interviews. There's really no mandate as to how we have to do that under the government code. However, when you do interview the candidates, if you choose to do that, it has to happen in open session under the Brown Act. Finally, the last day to vote to appoint someone is August 24th. Next, please. The second option you have is to hold a special election. So the city council may call for a special election at any time. You don't have to go through the appointment process first. The date for the special election has to be at least 114 days from the call of the election. It has to be the next regularly established election date. That special election would, oddly enough, be November 8th, 2022. Which is also the date of the actual election to fill the new District 1 seat. The cost for the special election is actually estimated to be $0, given that the city council has already called for an election for that same date to fill the same seat. Anyone who is actually elected at the election on November 8th would be seated for a whole new term. So this new council member's term is a little bit odd, just because typically, if it's the second half of a council member's term, in this case, Mayor Pro Tem Paras Karachi's term, that new council member would serve until the end of that term, right? So that's December 13th, 2022. And then they would have to run at the next regular election. But because the election is coming up in November 2022, if someone gets appointed, they would have to run again kind of right away, because the window to file for November 8th, 2022 is coming up. And also they would be running under the new map. So if the council does decide to follow the appointment process, this is kind of a proposed timeline to help you orient how to do the application. We could open the application period starting tomorrow, put a deadline of August 2nd to submit the application. We can do the interview at open session August 9th and appoint an individual to fill that seat on August 23rd, which is the next council meeting. So staff's recommendation today is to discuss options for filling the council vacancy upon the passing of Mayor Pro Tem Paras Karachi on June 25th, 2022. Select to fill the vacancy either by appointment or special election, and provide any related direction to staff, and if necessary, to schedule special meetings of the city council. And that concludes the presentation.
Okay, thank you, Ty. All right, do we have any questions, comments for Ty?
I guess with the whole new maps, I'm just a little confused. So if we went to appointment, you appoint by August 20 something, which is after the deadline to already apply to run. And then depending on where you live, you'd run again in November.
So this is how it would happen. If you choose to appoint, the person has to live under the old District 1 maps, the ones that were adopted in 2018. They will serve until December 2022. They finish out the term. The person who gets appointed may not want to run in the November 8th election, or they might. If they choose to run, they have to file to run under the new District 1 map.
And then they might not even live in District 1 by the time that.
Right, they may not live in an overlapping area of the old District 1 and the new District 1.
Okay.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I'm just curious, this, unfortunately, it happened too often lately in our adjacent neighboring city, Arcadia, with Roger. With his passing, I believe they recommended to do a special elections on November 8th, right? If I recall correctly. So I'm just curious. I believe Roger Chandler, he passed, I think in February or January, if I recall correctly. Why is it that they're able to prolong this till the coming November? And
So we too
I get it.
would have that option
Okay.
because you have to call for the election or appoint within 60 days. It doesn't, the election just has to happen at least 114 days after the call and at the next regular election. So essentially, the next regular election was November 8th.
Uh-huh.
And that was, I believe, the term, it may have been the term of that particular council member.
Okay.
In this case, if you choose to quote, hold a special election,
Right.
the resolution that was drafted for your review specifically does say we already called for a general election for the District 1 term. That's on November 8th. It so happens that this special election, if so, being called today to fill this vacancy would coincide with that election. Therefore, essentially, the voters would just vote for the new District 1 term under the new District 1 map.
Okay, thank you.
Can I
Go ahead,
cast a
Vid.
vote?
Yeah.
I vote for a special election.
I second.
Okay. We have a motion, and a second to go with the special election, which will be held on November 8th. That coincides with our regularly scheduled election. It doesn't happen too often, you guys.
I just don't think it's fair for us to appoint somebody and then for them to just run again right immediately, right after they get appointed. When that time is supposed to let them understand and learn what's going on and what we have. But they're forced to put themselves back out there to run again. And so I wouldn't put anybody in that position. It's
Okay.
just not fair to that person. So I offer a special election.
Okay. Are we, right, we have a motion and a second.
If that's the case, just for clarification, there is a draft resolution, as I mentioned. And so to proceed with a special election, I do recommend that we adopt a resolution of the City Council of the City of Duarte, California, calling for the holding of an election to be held on Tuesday, November 8th, 2022, to fill the vacancy for District 1 as required by the provisions of the law of the state of California relating to general law cities. Essentially, we want to make sure we adopt this resolution to show that we're calling for the election.
Even though it's already been called for.
Yes, but that's called for under the
understand.
general. Yeah, we
I
want to
understand.
make sure we get it all our ducks in a row.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to
Roll
go
call.
with resolution 22-29. Any further discussion? Any objections? I don't think so, as long as we're all here.
On the paper.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what the question was.
Is there
Tony
a
just said,
roll call?
does there have to be a roll call?
You don't have to because we are not under AB 361.
Okay, if there are no objections, then so ordered. All right, thank you. Appreciate, what a great job you did, Ty. You ought to do a few more of those.
You just wait and
Okay.
see.
All right.
It's not.
Now we're at item 9B. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Now I'm glad the vote went the way it did because, truth be told, I think, it's so different with Zeidel. She was just so special. And to me, I think the greatest honor we can give to her and respect for all she's done is to not replace her, but let the vote go as it should in November. And, it's going to mean an empty seat up there, but I think this is one time that it'd be well worth it. And I think with what you just did, feels that. So thank you, guys.
And as
for-
Steve says, there is no replacing Zeidel.
No, there
Ever.
isn't. And that's really why I thought that keeping that open till November in her honor would be the greatest compliment we can give her at this time.
Okay, great. Thank you, Steve. Okay, item 9B. This is the consideration of adopting or calling for an election relating to an ordinance establishing a healthcare workers minimum wage in the city of Duarte, and I believe Jody?
On the advice of council, I will be recusing myself from item 9B pursuant to FPPC Regulation Section 18707. This ballot initiative may have a material financial effect on my source of income, my employer, City of Hope. Because of this conflict of interest and as required by state law, I will leave the room while this item is being discussed by my colleagues.
Okay, thank you, Jody. Wait a minute, are you leaving me up here with all these guys?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
I got your
Then,
back, Mayor.
I'm sorry?
I got your back.
Okay, you always do, Tony. Okay, then are we going to have a
Yeah,
staff report?
We shall. So while Councilmember Scholes walks to timeout, we will on that incredible performance from the last presentation, I think it's a good idea to have our city attorney, Ms. Fan, give this report as well.
And I just wanted to confirm that there are no public comments on this item. No, that's it. All right. Okay.
I mean, do you want them before or after? I think people would probably rather
Yeah.
speak after.
We'll do the report first and then go to the
Right.
comments. Yeah.
It's gonna give
maybe
you
a
more
lot of
time to
questions.
prepare, y'all. All right. So, like you said, the ballot initiative is for an ordinance establishing a healthcare workers minimum wage in the city of Duarte. So, this is obviously an overview of the ordinance. It is approximately 6 pages, single space. What does the ordinance do? All healthcare workers, as defined, must be paid a minimum wage of at least $25 per hour by affected employers, also as defined. They're defined terms in the ordinance. The wage increase shall be annually based on CPI for urban wage earners and clerical workers. It's a little bit different from the typical CPI that you normally see for the LA metropolitan area beginning January 1st, 2023. This does not generally apply to third-party contractors. However, the way the definition for employees is defined under the ordinance, it's very fact specific, but I did want to generally put it in there. If the third-party contractor is directed or controlled and working primarily at the healthcare employer's space, then they may fall under this requirement. Again, it is a very fact-specific determination. A
Wait a minute,
court,
Ty, can you go back?
Yeah.
Please. Okay, it said court may grant a 1-year waiver.
yes,
With substantial evidence that compliance would raise substantial doubt on their ability to continue.
yes.
How do you do that?
So it doesn't say exactly what information has to be provided to a court, but it does allow an employer to seek court determination to say, hey, look, we need a year to try to ramp up or to meet this requirement, and here's why. And they need to show substantial evidence is a general legal standard. It's not necessarily clear and convincing. It's not as high as that, but it does require evidence. It may require income information, tax information, revenue information, cost information, whatever a court might need to understand or to believe that there's, quote, substantial doubt on the healthcare employer's ability to continue. But again, it's only a 1-year waiver.
Okay, thank you.
Next, please. The minimum wage increase cannot be funded by layoffs, increasing charges for work-related materials such as uniforms, shoes, or reducing worker pay hours or other benefits. And it should be noted specifically that adverse action taken against an employee within 90 days of the employee's exercise of their rights under this ordinance is a rebuttable presumption of retaliation. So that what happens is, say, an employee says, you're not paying me $25 an hour, under this ordinance. And if within 90 days, the employer takes some type of negative action, say cutting their hours or changing their work duties or demoting them or whatever, that would be a rebuttable presumption, meaning that it's now up to the employer to prove to a court or another decision-making body that they were not actually retaliating. So it puts the onus and the burden on the employer. if that kind of action is taken within 90 days. What are the city's responsibilities? So this ordinance doesn't just place a responsibility on affected healthcare employers. It also requires the city to do a couple things. First, the city must publish the adjusted minimum wage increases every January 1st, and that begins January 1st, 2024. The city must also enforce the ordinance. So there are enforcement requirements to establish and administer a process for reporting complaints of violations, investigations, administrative citations, and imposition of fines and other penalties. The city can enforce by collecting back wages and dispersing them to the appropriate employees, and also conduct education and enforcement activities to ensure compliance. So we would be the regulatory body. So what happens if an employer fails to comply? Well, the healthcare worker, their representative, the city attorney, or any person acting on behalf of the public may bring a civil action against an employer. So for example, that last part may mean, Jane Doe citizen says you employer are doing it, failing to comply with the ordinance, they can bring a lawsuit. This is actually, that provision is similar to what we consider the private attorney general's statute that happens under state law that does exist. And a court must impose, if the court finds a violation, it must impose all remedies available, including penalties up to $120 to each healthcare worker for each day that a violation occurred, unless the plaintiff is a person acting on behalf of the public. So if it's a healthcare worker, the representative or the city attorney who filed the lawsuit, that particular $120 fine per day per worker would apply. The person who wins or the petitioner who wins can get reasonable attorney's fees and treble damages against employers who retaliate against an employee. And so treble damages are punitive damages, and it goes beyond the actual cost or harm. It's just, it could be whatever amount that the court feels is necessary to essentially punish the wrongdoer.
Ty, where does $120 come from? How'd they come up with that?
I do not know. It does not say in the papers that we received.
Okay.
So the city council has three options because, as you know, the ballot petition did receive the necessary signatures from registered Duarte voters. The city council must do one of the three, with the first two options being the ultimate decision. The city council may adopt the ordinance without alteration within 10 days of today. The city council can submit the ordinance to voters by no later than August 12th, 2022. Or the city council can order a fiscal impact report, then decide whether to adopt the ordinance or submit the ordinance to voters. Adopting the ordinance. So as I mentioned, the council has 10 days from today, July 12th, to decide whether to adopt the ordinance outright. And it's because the code states that when we do the certificate, we present the certificate of sufficient signatures, which is one of the resolutions for today. You have 10 days to do the adoption. So the last day to adopt the ordinance outright is July 22nd, 2022. This ordinance, if adopted by the council, cannot be repealed without voter approval. So it'll act just like any other ballot initiative that passes. If it's adoption, it has 2 readings and goes into effect 30 days thereafter. And then it would be negligible cost to the city. The next option is to submit the ordinance to the voters. Essentially, there's a ministerial and mandatory duty to submit the ordinance to voters if the council does not adopt it outright within the 10-day window, meaning that the way that the code is written, you either have to adopt or you must submit it to the voters. You may direct me, the city attorney, to prepare a 500-word impartial analysis of the impacts of the ordinance at the city's cost. Therefore, the city, would just pay for that time and whatnot. August 12th, 2022 is the last day to call for elections on the ballot measure and submit a request to consolidate with the November election. So we recommend that if you choose to call for the election, that we do it by the last day the council has for a regular meeting, which is August 9th, 2022. This cost is approximately $47,000 to the city. However, it was already accounted for in the fiscal 22-23 budget.
Ty,
Yes.
question on that. That is 47,000 in addition to what we're already going to pay for. That just seems really odd for just another little bit of ink on the paper.
So unfortunately, it is not just the ballot question. This includes the printing of the actual ordinance and any other, the counting of the ballots and all of that stuff. So we did take a look. That was the approximate cost of it, in addition to whatever other costs for the council elections.
Okay, thank you.
And the third option that you can take prior to adopting or placing on the ballot is to order a fiscal impact report. City staff or consultant has 30 days to return this impact report. But staff does recommend that any report be returned to council by August 9th, so you can take that action. After receiving the report, as I mentioned, you have to adopt the ordinance or place it on the ballot. However, we have had difficulty finding a consultant. And such a report, we believe, would be difficult to return in such a short time period, given the complexity of who the employers would be, who the employees would be, and the kind of complex, I guess, type of work that we're looking at here. Moreover, it would be costly for the city to pursue. The city would have to pay for it, and it would be likely over $5,000 to $10,000.
Okay,
Easily.
this is fiscal impact on.
The ordinance. What happens if the ordinance is adopted and is in effect in the city?
I see.
On whether it's the city, on the public, typically the impact report would say, okay, if this ordinance is in effect, what is the effect on the city? What is the effect on residents? Or what is the effect on the economic well-being of the city, et cetera?
Mary, you ask a very, very good question because the way the law is written and the way these reports are done, it's not clear where you kind of cut off that analysis. On the one hand, you can do the immediate order effects of estimating some number of higher paid employees and how that would ripple through, say, to example, to the city organization. You can go beyond that and try to look at the impact on the hospital, the providers. You can go beyond that and try to look at how it's going to have second and tertiary effects on the city's businesses. And you can even speculate on what kinds of choices might be made in light of different wages for different kinds of workers. All of those will have an impact. I will tell you, you can't begin to even start to estimate them and get the data for them in 30 days. It can't be done. So if it's going to be done within this 30-day time period, it's going to be very simple. It's going to be very sort of linear. This is the impact, and these are the most visible ones that we can anticipate. But frankly, most of the real action will be in those second and third and fourth order impacts that we just wouldn't be able to get to in 30 days.
Does it make any difference whether we do that or not? Because if we pass it tonight, then we're going to have to deal with the fiscal impact in our city. And if it gets passed in November, we're going to have to deal with the fiscal impact.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yes, and so just to follow up on the city manager's comment, the fiscal impact report may, for example, just be limited to, well, what's the city's cost in administering, enforcing, educating the public on this ordinance, right? We would likely have to hire additional staff, additional employees, or a consultant whose job is just to do this work. And we probably could figure that out. Like you said, the first level of impacts on the city. And in many cases, it's just to give you additional information as to whether you want to adopt it outright or let the voters decide, because it is not clear, of course, what the voters would decide on this matter.
Okay, thank you.
Where does the 30-day window come from? Is that the state? Is that the ordinance itself? Okay.
Yes, so the state law mandates that when we do the certificate of sufficiency, that you have 30 days to return thereafter.
would it be incumbent upon the healthcare facilities in our city to come up with the fiscal impact on their on their entities?
So they are free to do so on their own. However, it does, again, state law does mandate that the city, if you do request a fiscal impact report, that the city staff or city consultant do it ourselves. Anyone may submit information as they choose to their elected body. I do want to comment that it was possible to have asked for this fiscal impact report at the time we received the petition. But of course, we did not know when we received the petition initially, whether or not they would receive the sufficient signatures
Okay,
to mandate this action.
thank you. Okay, other questions or comments? Okay.
Okay. And so the timeline, just for your awareness, we received the petitions, or they submitted the petition signatures May 19th. June 6th, the LA County Registrar's Office did say there were verified valid signatures that met the 10% threshold. June 30th, the elections official certified the signatures and informed the petitioner. So July 22nd is the last day for this council to adopt the ordinance, or you can do so tonight. We did provide all of the options and resolutions and ordinances as necessary. As I mentioned, August 9th is staff's recommended last day to call for an election of the ordinance and request consolidation with the county election. August 11th, last day to receive fiscal impact report and decide whether to adopt or place on the ballot. And August 12th, last day, the city is allowed to call for an election. And I just want to also mention this timeline toward the August dates were adjusted because of the county's election calendar. So for example, under state law, we have, maybe more time given the 30-day to ask for the fiscal impact report and then take action. However, given that we have a certain mandatory duty to adopt or place on the ballot, we would need to meet this election deadline as mandated by the county, who is going to be doing the election on our behalf.
Okay, I understand, and maybe this is a question you can't answer. There were 10 cities that were where signatures were verified or signatures were gathered. How many of those 10 cities had enough signatures verified by the county?
Unfortunately, I do not know. However, at the time that these were submitted, I know that there were still signatures being gathered in other cities.
Okay, okay, thank you.
So our recommendation tonight is a little bit long, but we do recommend a motion to, one, adopt a resolution accepting the certificate as to the verification of signatures from the registrar's office, as well as the sufficiency of signatures from the elections official. That is an action that you do have to take because it is a ministerial duty. And you have two options: place for first reading the ordinance establishing a healthcare workers minimum wage in the city of Duarte, or adopt the resolution and other related resolutions to place the item on the ballot. 3, if you do submit the ordinance to the voters, you do also have the option, as I mentioned, to direct me, the city attorney, to prepare a 500-word impartial analysis that would be also placed on the kind of voter guide.
Okay, so we have questions right now. Anybody want to ask questions, or do you want people to come up and speak right now?
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
The 500-word statement prepared by you, what would that, what is that for? What would it do? Is it for the voters to understand what it is?
Yes, so there was initially a summary of the ballot initiative that I had to prepare once we received the initial request that the petitioners used, to gather signatures. On the ballot, when you go through your ballot voter guide, it has, the argument for and the argument against.
Yes.
So the 500-word impartial analysis would try to do a neutral version of what would this do, what would it not do. It may be somewhat similar to the summary itself, given that, I am not an economist, and if we do not have an input, the fiscal impact report, I'm not going to be able to say it's going to have X number of dollar effect on the city the
Right.
city budget, et cetera.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, other questions or comments? Okay, then maybe what we'll do is we will have the speakers come up and speak now. And we have a 3-minute time limit. And somebody will be handling the buzzer. Is that right, Victoria? Okay. So she will be handling that. And we'll start with, let's see, who do I have here first? Esme Grubbs. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. And good evening, Mayor Finley and members of the council. My name is Esme Grubbs. I'm a coordinator with SEIU UHW representing City of Hope members, which is about 800 of them that work in that hospital. And I'm here in support of the healthcare workers minimum wage. First, I want to express the urgency of passing this initiative as an ordinance. Our healthcare workers are true heroes, but many are facing financial hardships brought by the pandemic. Some of them lived in their cars during the pandemic, currently are living in their cars because they just haven't been able to make ends meet, taking double shifts, taking double jobs to put food on their table for their families. Raising the minimum wage to $25 is just good policy that other cities are adopting, and even clinics like Ultimate, not sure if you know about Ultimate, but it's one of the largest clinics in the state. They started implementing the $25 per hour. So needless to say, it's very doable to get this policy passed. The ordinance even has language protecting hospitals if they can't afford it. The increase written on it, you just heard about that, and would be hard to say that City of Hope couldn't afford it. And then, of course, studies show that a stronger minimum wage creates a healthier workforce. It addresses disparities in our community and keeps providing the most essential services in their workforce that right now is very fragile. Healthcare workers are burnt out and are leaving their jobs due to competitive stores like Target that are offering a $24 to start as a minimum wage. And that is why I urge you to support the healthcare workers minimum wage to retain and recognize outstanding healthcare workers in this city. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay. Next. Okay, next person would be Mark Gamble.
Hello, Mayor and members of the City Council.
Hello, thank you for coming.
Thank you. Let me start by saying I'm sorry about the loss of your Mayor Pro Tem. I had a recent loss in my family, so I appreciate what everybody in the city is going through. So sorry about that. My name is Mark Gamble, and I'm with the Hospital Association of Southern California. And HASC represents 180 hospitals and health systems here in Southern California. And I'm here today to provide comments on the proposed healthcare minimum wage measure and to explain why it is unfair, unequal, and discriminatory. The measure is bad public policy and creates winners and losers among our healthcare heroes by excluding the majority of healthcare workers in the city of Duarte. If enacted, this measure would include our healthcare workers who work at 92% of healthcare organizations in Duarte. We all agree healthcare workers are the heroes, especially over the past 3 years. But this measure isn't the right way to say thank you. It's flawed, inequitable, and will ultimately hurt workers and patients in our most vulnerable communities. So HASC strongly urges the City Council to refer this measure to the ballot. Voters should have a say in this matter and decide for themselves whether this is something they want to see enacted. We also ask that the city request an economic impact report to better understand the measure's effect on workers, healthcare providers, the economy as a whole, and on the city. The city needs to understand which healthcare providers are required to meet the new provisions and which aren't, and what the fiscal and staffing impacts will be on both covered and non-covered facilities. Remember, there are 92% of the facilities in the city that are not covered. The analysis should also include a broader review of the potential impact on healthcare costs and access to care, including the impact on the uninsured, disadvantaged, and uninsured communities. On behalf of the healthcare providers in Duarte, we ask that you support our request to let the measure go to the voters. We appreciate the opportunity for collaboration and for you listening to me this evening, and we stand ready to work with the city on any issues related to our member hospitals and the healthcare of the city of Duarte. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, next person will be Mary Hernandez.
Hi, my name is Mary. Thank you to the council members and Mayor Finley. I am an ACA medical assistant at City of Hope here in Duarte. Tomorrow will mark 7 years that I have been working at this amazing hospital. I am here to express my support for the passing a healthcare workers minimum wage as an ordinance. As a healthcare worker for over 16 years, I feel that I should be able to help support my family without having to work 2 full-time jobs, as I have been for the last 2.5 years. And being a healthcare worker is mentally, emotionally, and physically exhausting, but I do it because I love it. It's sad that a package of chicken that I used to buy for $5 is now $25, and I can't even afford to buy that. Let alone pay my rent. I have to live on credit cards to go further into debt just to survive. That is why I urge you to support the healthcare workers minimum wage to retain and recognize outstanding healthcare workers in our city. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next up is Albert Arambula.
Good evening, everybody, council members, mayor. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Welcome.
My name is Albert Rambula, and I just want to thank you all for allowing me to have this opportunity to present my arguments. I'm an LPT at Kaiser Mental Health Center and a resident of Duarte for the past 3 years. I'm here to express my support for passing a healthcare workers minimum wage as an ordinance. My family are all healthcare workers themselves and are residents of Duarte. That is why I was a signature to get this petition started. I work night shift, go to school part-time, and my mother works 16-hour shifts as well, almost daily, just to cover our basic expenses. It's troubling to me to see her come home exhausted with no time to socialize with her and spend some quality time. A healthcare minimum wage increase would help us tremendously in having a sense of family back. LA City has already passed this. Other cities will also most likely pass this soon. And even Ultimate community clinics took it upon themselves to raise their minimum wage. It has been proven that this policy works and is effective. It helps prevent already strained employees from having to leave an already shorthanded healthcare industry. This is personal to me, and I feel like you should also take this seriously as well. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, Albert. And I don't know who's going to be able to answer some of these questions that I have later on. Can we ask individual people?
I would recommend we wait until after public comment. And then if you have questions for the petitioner or for staff, we can do that.
Okay. All right, we'll do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and next we have Martina Rodriguez.
Hi there. My name is Martina Rodriguez. Thank you for having me, Mayor and council members. I'm a surgical technologist at City of Hope now for the last 14 years. I'm also a steward at City of Hope. I became a steward right before the pandemic occurred, which has given me firsthand knowledge to seeing the struggles of many of my coworkers and what they have gone through this past few years. It started with just the struggles of not having the appropriate PPE and the protection And the employees we're talking about, we're not talking about your nurses and doctors that have been plastered all over the TV. We're talking about your transporters, your technicians, your medical assistants. These are the people that are taking care of your brother, your sister, your aunt, your uncle. These are the ones that are standing in the rooms looking after your patients for 14 hours, 16 hours, 20 hours because they're so short-staffed. We had a mass resignation just in the beginning of COVID that then became a domino effect of more resignations as our system became strained. This has now resulted in a severe like I said, a short staffing in which we can't even recruit staff. Our pay is so low. We've had employees making $15, $16 an hour that were changing bedpans and doing things that some of you would never think of doing when it came to healthcare. And these people are very important for the needs of our patients. And I think they need to be valued a little bit more than somebody that is taking a part-time job, I don't know, doing something else that is much less hazardous to their health. If City of Hope, along with other medical facilities, can afford to pay contract workers twice our pay in order to fill our spots as a temporary Band-Aid, if City of Hope can afford to pay out crisis pay in order to encourage us to stay double shifts, which is what we've been doing. We have staff working 16 to 20 something hour shifts in order to just make ends meet. They're picking up the extra shifts because they can't afford to keep working at $16 to $20 an hour. Some of these employees are surgical, they're sterile processing technicians. They are processing your instruments for surgery. I think those people deserve more than $16 to $20 an hour for their pay. We're talking surgical technologists who base pay is less than $25 an hour. Transporters, ACAs, these people deserve a lot more than a pat on the back and thank you heroes. They've gone through a lot this past few years, and I think they deserve that respect. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, our next speaker up is Margie Caldera.
Good evening. My name is Margie Caldera. I apologize as this is personal to me. I have been a healthcare worker for the City of Hope for the past 15 years. I've been in the healthcare industry for the past 25. And I'm here as representative to help pass this ordinance for someone who's been walking into positive COVID rooms face first every morning, 5 a.m. I don't have the proper PPE. Every patient, we're supposed to change a mask, an N95, my gown from top to bottom. None of that from head to toe is always changed. We don't have enough supplies. We don't have enough staff. It's also a personal sacrifice. There's some things where as COVID is airborne, it's contact precaution. And then I have to think to go home to take that home to my family, to my kids. Everybody's watching it on the news. Everybody's watching it from far. I watch it up close and personal every single day. What is the city going to impact? What's it, gonna do about certain other things that's happening in the city financially? What's it doing to the rest of us? What's of us that have been doing it not only for the past 3 years during COVID, but everything else that has been contact precaution and every other disease that you guys have seen. We see it up close and personal every day. Nobody thinks about that. They've only thought about it when COVID hit. Not fair. We're taking care of not only our loved ones and to take it home. And, they say PPE and everything. And then we think, okay, Lysol in the car, but hey, guess what? Costco doesn't have Lysol anymore. What do we do then? Nobody's providing transportation. Nobody's providing extra clothes. Nobody's providing the PPE that we need. There's shortages everywhere, not only of supplies, but on staff. This would definitely help us to make our worth every day, noticeable, acknowledged, appreciated, to show we are worthy of the work that we do to not only take care of our loved ones, but yours as well. We've lost a lot. It takes a village. This is the village that I'm asking for us to work together, for this to be passed, for us to be not only mentally and physically able, but to work together and show that the city does appreciate the healthcare workers. And lastly, I appreciate your time to hear me out and understand my sacrifices.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And the next person, I cannot tell. I know your email address. There's no name on here. It says DMY3RANITASC@yahoo.com.
That's me.
Okay,
Oh,
I don't know your name.
Diana.
Okay, Diana, would you like to come up and speak?
Not a good speaker, but I also work at City of Hope. And I've been working there for 33 years. And they gave me my raise already, 21 cents. You know, I have been working through the whole pandemic. And I feel that that was just a big slap in the face for me. I have been doing my work as well as I need to do it. I care for my patients, but for me to receive 21 cents, that's a really big impact on me. And I feel that I'm constantly daily going into patients that have COVID. I am exposed daily with patients that have COVID. I've had COVID twice. I've been able to pull through it. I do have a health issue, but I don't know any other job but my healthcare work that I do now. So I really wish that you really would look into all the healthcare workers that are working, that are really putting their life online and their families. I've lost 4 family members already with COVID. So that's what I have to say.
Thank you. We appreciate your coming up. Okay, and we also have something from Luis Portillo.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Luis Portillo. I'm the president and CEO of the San Gabriel Valley Economic Partnership. I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak on this item that would raise the minimum wage for certain healthcare workers to $25 an hour. The proposal before you is deeply flawed. It would exclude the vast majority of healthcare workers in Duarte. As you've heard, 92% of Duarte facilities and their workers would be excluded from this measure. There are many unintended consequences whenever you deal with something like this. It is vital that the city understand its impact it's going to have on the ordinance, on its workers, on its healthcare providers, and the economy as a whole. Healthcare is one of the largest employment sectors in the San Gabriel Valley. 12% of our entire population is employed in the healthcare sectors. It is critical for our region. We ask that the council order an economic analysis as other cities have done, in order to properly assess how this will impact the city of Duarte. Upon completion of the economic analysis, we urge the council to refer this matter to the voters to allow them to decide on whether they want to adopt this measure or not. It gives the voters an opportunity to weigh in on this flawed measure and discriminatory policy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, and we have something from Mr. Hernandez.
Steve Hernandez. My wife is a healthcare worker, and during the pandemic, she works basically 3 days a week, 12 hours a day, but she worked as many as 6 days a week during this, and it was not something that the hospital planned. It was just something that came about that made people sick. And it was something that we in our generation have not experienced. The pandemic is something awful. It really does affect a lot of people. But what came after the pandemic was something even worse, inflation. And inflation is what I keep hearing these people talk about, not about healthcare in particular, but it's affected every sector, not just healthcare. It's affecting every worker in every way. And it's probably one of those things that over time, if it's not under control, is going to bring about more homelessness. But it's not something that's going to go away anytime soon, because after you go 2 years of not doing a lot and having to do it over, it's costly and it's timely. Farmers can't, if they planted 100 acres of product and they now need 200 acres of product, it doesn't grow overnight. And these are the kinds of things. I think price of oil is a world commodity. It's not something that we dictate. And it's gone up because of Ukraine and because of other factors that have been in there. And this is going to continue to go on for a while. And so is inflation. But to me, it's not something that's going to be cured by helping one industry. It's something that has to be done with all workers. But to say that you're going to give them, a minimum wage that's beyond the hospital's ability to pay too. And this is what I'm not hearing about. And I know because I've heard this from so many industries already that, it's not a matter of not wanting to give, but to say that because somebody has a lot of money that it's there to be given, it's not, especially with foundations, which is what the City of Hope is, which what Arcadia Methodist is, it's what Huntington is. These people are not given a lot of money, or workers, they're given a lot of money to build, to expand, and to bring up technology. And I really feel that this is an area that needs to be given the attention and not just a specific group. So the ballot issue to me is probably the best way to do it, because I think other than as a city, we're going to feel the impact of it too, by having to monitor it, by marshal it and everything else. So it's something we need to weigh a little more heavily than just with one industry. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Steve. Okay, and then we have one more speaker, and that is Mr. Paris.
Paras, Duarte. My understanding is that there is a measure that was circulated to places on the ballot, and it is all certified, ready to go. And on the other hand also is that there is a petition or request to the City Council as part of their legislative function to just pass an ordinance. I don't know who took the measure gather, and I understand a group is also petitioning the council to just do it. But it seems to me, see, we're not Los Angeles City, let's put it that, which is very, very expensive to collect signatures. Duarte is a small city. Where I'm coming from is this. There are a lot of things here that's being discussed. Inflation, care for the caregiver, etc., and so on. Of course, all those things are valid. But at the same time, don't waste the people who gather those signatures so that people can actually decide for them discuss what's the issue is about instead of being the city council doing it, of which, and no offense to the city council, right now, the only person that's there, that's been elected by the people in the last election is Mayor Finley. Everybody else is appointed, of which you well deserve because you were selected by the existing city council. But my point is, let the voters decide. Remember, Ralph? That's all. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. And is there anyone else that would like to speak? Okay, then we can, I guess, I have some questions to ask Ty, and I would guess my colleagues do also. I don't know who, you probably can answer some of them. You probably can't answer some of them too. So, is there a representative that maybe can answer some of them?
So no representative for the petitioner or the proponent, Mr. Arambula, has reached out to me or said that they would be available today. However, I believe he is here today. So if he wants to, he can answer those questions, but I can answer whatever question I can answer based on the information that I've been presented with. I do just want to make a quick comment that if you do choose to adopt the ordinance today, it is because that is an option as mandated by government law or the government code and not a separate city council ordinance.
Okay. Okay. All right, well, let's go ahead. Tony.
I have a question, Todd. You said the petitioner is here. Did we have a opposition person that opposed the?
So
map
this,
Also here?
there's no official opposition and and the only proponent is Mr. Arambula because he is the one who signed the notices and he does have an attorney, a representative attorney in. However, it is not an official presentation like you would typically have if it's a public hearing for let's say a CUP or some other development project, right? So if there's anyone who is associated with a proponent or represents the proponent who wants to answer, or the proponent himself wants to answer, that would be permissible. But as to any official opponent, that we do not have one.
Thank you.
Okay, Sam.
Okay, I got a lot of questions and first of all, I was a healthcare worker. I worked at AV Hospital, Huntington Hospital and did a whole bunch of stuff before. My family, a lot of them are healthcare workers too. As a matter of fact, during the pandemic, I used my own time and I donated a lot of the BYD masks that you guys have been using probably at whatever hospitals around, Southern California. I used my own time to donate a lot of those masks out there. So I'm with you. I'm with the healthcare workers, definitely. I do feel like that somehow, look, I'm supposed to go ahead and decide and say, hey, yeah, I'm all for it for the $25, but I'm hearing it from the worker side, but I'm not really hearing it from the employer side, how this is going to affect the employers, and how the perhaps, how hospitals, how they work is, how about the reimbursements, right? From the state or from the Fed, how's that going to go ahead and hurt them when the minimum wage just went up to 15. I think LA City is now 16 and a cent, whatever. And then all of a sudden it escalates up to 25. That's a pretty big jump. How is that going to go and affect the employer in a smaller facility? I don't really know how significant that's going to go ahead and impact an employer. So if for me, to go ahead and say, yeah, it's okay. I think I'm doing a disservice for all of us, especially for the employees. What if they say, I can't sustain anymore. I need to go ahead and close this hospital or this clinic or whatever and so on. I need more information in order to really understand and justify, you know, the minimum wage of 25. Now, is it hurting just the healthcare workers? Absolutely not. It's hurting all of us, right? Even for myself, you know, having $6 or $7 a gallon of gas, it's tremendous. I still remember back in the early 80s, or not even this, maybe the early 80s, it's like 98 cents a gallon, right? So I think I'm trying to conserve just like all of us too. So I would like to see more analysis to understand both sides, because if I am here to go ahead and make a judgment call and say, yeah, let's go ahead and raise it, I think I'm doing really a disservice for the employers. So I need to understand a little bit more about the impact from the hospital side. I totally understand from the employee side, right? We're all feeling it. But from the employer side, how this is going to go ahead and hurt them, or how is this going to go ahead and affect on their daily operations. The worst thing I want to go ahead and see and happen is, hey, you know what? Let's go ahead and close down one of these smaller clinics and whatever and so on. That's going to go ahead and impact all the constituents, not just the medical workers. That's what I would like to see, more analysis, and then perhaps we might. I'm thinking, well, give it to the voters, right? Give it to the voters, and then they go and vote for it. But before that, I have one question really quick. I'm seeking for clarifications in regards to the 92% that's being covered. I'm not understanding what that means.
So there has been discussion by the Hospital Association or those affiliated who have presented the 92% number as this ordinance would only apply to 8% of healthcare facilities in the city of Duarte, and exclude the other 92% of healthcare facilities. And it's because of the way healthcare facilities or employer is defined under the ordinance. It would, for example, exclude public hospitals and clinics, urgent care centers, nursing homes, etc. However, I want to clarify that even though the ordinance would apply to 8% of healthcare facilities, we don't know, and that's the allegation. I have not done this number myself or this analysis myself. This is what their statements to me have been. It's not clear what the percentage of healthcare employees would be. So for example, if the 8% of healthcare facilities employs 80% of healthcare workers in the city, the minimum wage would apply to those 80% of healthcare workers, because the excluded facilities might be, you know, either smaller facilities or employ fewer healthcare workers. So that's where the number, I believe, comes from, but it is not a number that the city has done independent research on or provided.
Todd, could you tell me why those facilities was excluded from the?
I cannot say the reason why they were excluded, but I can say that the definition would exclude, you know, some facilities include others. It's just the definition of a healthcare facility or employers as defined in the ordinance.
And
Thank you.
and thank you so much. I think that really solidified my analysis, is that I'm seeking for more knowledge to understand a little bit more about what this is going to go ahead and impact before I can go ahead and decide this. So I would like to see analysis, further analysis, and the impact from the employer side, and who are the employers going to be impacted? Who is that 8%? I have no idea. And of that 8%, how many of these workers going to go ahead and be impacted, or employers? And then we'll go from there.
I would like to mention, as consistent with my presentation, it is a bit of a difficulty because, again, you're looking at very specific types of healthcare facilities and not others. And we don't have the internal data for every single facility, for example. And so I wouldn't know, or we may not be able to find out, say, okay, you know, healthcare facility A employs 200 workers and which of those 200 would apply, because as I mentioned, the ordinance only applies to certain healthcare workers as they're defined. So it excludes managers, supervisors. It might exclude some others. I just wanted to share that just because the data itself would require data collection and analysis beyond just, like I said, the impact on the city directly.
I just feel like I just feel like it's so ambiguous still, and I need to go ahead and make a decision. I'm not going, it's like drive. Where am I going? Just drive. North, east, west. Where am I? Just drive. Okay, all right. I don't like that feeling. I need to do more due diligence on this. And in addition, it's like somehow I just don't want, I've seen other cities, doing this before, but it's like, this has to do with the employers, with the employee, and there's a union with SEIU, which SEIU 121 RN, these are my friends and so on. I feel like that's more like their things that they need to go and negotiate with the employers, but somehow the city got involved in this that I am not certain. I don't have enough data points to go ahead and make a good judgment on how this is going to go ahead and impact the employers. Of course, for the employees, we all feel it because it's a blanket statement because everyone's feeling the inflation, right? So I just need more understanding on this.
Which then raises the point, then I'll get to you, Vin.
Okay.
Raises the point, okay, this is us then saying $25 an hour for healthcare workers. What about auto mechanics? Is that something that we could go ahead and make an ordinance for auto mechanics because they breathe in bad fumes and it's hazardous to their health? And would we be able to do something with that?
So this would, of course, only apply to specified and certain healthcare workers. But as far as I'm aware, there's nothing preventing the city council on your own to mandate a certain minimum wage for either particular sectors or all all workers in the city. Separately from this.
There's some professions that the state and the federal government has supremacy in regulating, but what the city attorney just said is absolutely correct. There's really actually nothing, city councils have far less power than I think a lot of people understand, but one of the things you can do is set certain types of minimum wages for certain types of jobs and maybe a blanket one other than certain, again, those that are kind of preempted by the state. So it is kind of, this is one industry, and just as a general principle, you do have a lot of discretion. It could be auto mechanics. It could be, I'm looking at Victoria thinking of her position, go ahead and name it.
Okay.
City managers. No.
We did that for you already.
So for me to piggyback off of Councilmember Kang, this is brought to us by the union, which represents these healthcare workers. Has this union that represents these healthcare workers bring it up to the hospital that they work for? Has the union provided this information to the hospitals that these healthcare workers are currently employed for, rather than first approach to us? I don't know who can answer that question, but.
So first, I'd like to reiterate that there was only one signatory or named proponent for this ballot measure, and that's proponent Albert Arambula. And it's not, I believe the individual is associated with SEIU or is a union member, but I wanted to specifically clarify that. And as to whether this union has talked to any employers, we do not know.
I see somebody with their hands raised over there. Is that?
Rounds of bargaining with City of Hope. City of Hope will not bargain with us. We've done everything we can to address every issue with City of Hope when it comes to employee concerns. They refuse to bargain except when our contract expires, which doesn't occur for another year.
Okay, can I just, if you want to
Yeah,
speak, come up to the microphone, please, because then it can be recorded also.
I just wanted to just add in there that we have done everything we can on as not only as a steward, but as an employee at City of Hope to try to bargain with City of Hope in general. It's not just over wages, but we're talking health conditions, working conditions, including donations for PPE, in which City of Hope turned down. Okay, they refused many donations that were organized from many nonprofit organizations. So this is why I'm here, because we've exhausted everything. They won't, there's no wiggle room. They don't listen to our concerns. They don't care about their concerns. Their bottom line is always the number one concern. City of Hope this last few years made more money this last few years than they've ever done. They are also expanding at a tremendous rate, in which they're basically becoming the beast of cancer centers. Their CEO is making, the last time I checked, which was 4 or 5 years ago, he was making 3.2 million. He's now probably over 4 million. I can't say exactly the number right at this moment, but he's making a significant amount of money for a nonprofit organization. And his employees that he has hired, his lawyers, his HR personnel, their motto is basically, it's always protect the employer first, which I understand, but it's at the cost of all of the employees. It doesn't matter. Like I said earlier, if they wanted to, they can afford to take care of their employees.
Yep.
They can afford to pay 2-3 times the amount for Band-Aids
Right, I
instead of
understand
a
that.
sustainable
Council
income.
members, just as a clarification, we typically do not have members of the public answer questions.
Okay.
It's usually directed to the city staff. I do recommend that because we do, I believe, have the proponent here
Yeah.
who did submit the ballot measure, that let him answer the questions, because otherwise, we do not have these speakers under the Brown Act and as agendized, or they can reach out to you afterwards if they want to provide additional information.
Do we have that speaker here, right? You said?
Yeah, Albert. You're gonna have who speak on your behalf? Who are you? You know what? I can't understand you with a mask on and clear at the back of the room. If you want to come up here and speak into the microphone, that'd be helpful.
So just, again, this is a somewhat unique situation, but we do have a proponent and his representative. And I think it would be good to direct those questions to the representative as to staff.
That's perfect. And your name is?
My name is Jose Barrera. I'm the political organizer for SEIU UHW.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's helpful. Okay, so I think we can probably keep asking questions. Vin, are you done for the time, or you want to?
Yeah, that was just that one question that I had. If it has been approached and brought to the certain hospitals that we're talking about here, or that work at the healthcare workers work at, and if the union has approached these certain employers of theirs, and I guess negotiations or what have you, whatever it is, whatever the process is.
Yes, thank you, Councilmember Chong. And our union has approached the employer, as was mentioned earlier, for negotiations. I did want to take it back a little bit because I wanted to address one of the questions by Councilmember Kang around the jump to $25 per hour. So as a direct result of us gathering signatures and putting this petition, circulating it, one of the situations that had happened is that the City of Hope had reached out to our union saying that immediately they were going to implement a $20 minimum wage, which is a great win for our membership and for the workers at the City of Hope. We're very excited about that. And it shows that there is an upward trajectory to get to $25 per hour for these workers. So it only just implements that, there's steps to it. And there is an availability and probable path to get to $25 per hour where it does not impact the employer at such a huge portion that may be considered, right? And to circle back to the 92% that won't be covered, I do want to acknowledge that there are small publicly funded clinics and hospitals that will not be covered because local governments cannot cover for those. We do have a bill on the state legislature, which is SB 1014, which would help address some of those wage gaps for the healthcare workers that wouldn't be covered. And I want to make sure that you keep in mind that a lot of the healthcare workers that wouldn't be covered already make over $25 per hour. So this does exclude the doctors, the executives, and workers that would be making a significantly much higher rate than $25 an hour.
Okay, other questions? Okay.
I guess my concern is that wording about the specific healthcare providers will be getting those $25, because I mean, I'm all for it if everybody gets it, right? It's across the board. I think our healthcare system has taken a big hit, especially these past 2 years. And I think we keep mentioning City of Hope, so I think I don't know City of Hope's financials, but they are a big institution, and I think that's where we're specifying. But what about all these other people? Like that's my concern tonight on making a decision, is that I want to see a fiscal impact, not just on how's it going to affect, but who is it benefiting, who's getting it. A lot of my family also work in the healthcare system at skilled nursing and institutions, whether it's hospitality or housekeeping. And I know when the minimum wage went up this past January, their hours were cut as well, and some of them had to retire. Luckily, they were eligible for retirement, but I've seen what that can do in terms of affecting instead of benefiting. So I would like to see some more discussion on this before making a decision tonight.
I would just like to comment, the definition of healthcare worker means an employee who works at or who is employed to work at or by a covered healthcare facility, but the definition is quite expansive. So for example, we might think of a doctor, nurse, or like an aide of some sort, but the definition does include a clinician, professional, non-professional, nurse, certified nursing assistant, aide, technician, maintenance worker, janitorial or housekeeping staff person, groundskeeper, guard, food service worker, laundry worker, pharmacist, non-managerial administrative worker, and business office clerical worker, excluding managers and supervisors. So it might not just cover any medical personnel only.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Fan. That actually answers my answer to the question. It's pretty broad.
Okay, I just have a couple questions here. First of all, I've spoken with some people down at the City of Hope, and they've been talking $20 an hour, $20+ an hour for some time. And I know that they have instituted it. So I don't really know whether this was something that was brought on by SEIU. Secondly, what was minimum wage prior to them getting this $20 an hour?
I do believe that the minimum wage prior to this was approximately $15 an hour. I have to double check, but I don't think that the City of Hope had implemented any specific minimum wage for their workers. I believe LA City was at $16 per hour.
Okay, so $15 or $16 an hour before it went up to 20.
That's correct.
Okay. Let's see, what cities, I think there are 10 cities, is that right, that were targeted with this? Now, how were those cities selected? And what cities have had enough signatures approved so that they can have it put on the ballot, and how many they don't have enough signatures yet?
I think, and I have to go back on my notes, but cities were selected based on the need for the workers, where it made sense and where the polling made sense for this to be passed, whether it be as an ordinance or through the ballot, where there was legislative support or there was a community polling support.
Okay. And I know you talked about healthcare workers in some of the facilities that were not going to be covered. What are kind of some of the unintended consequences? Say this does pass. And do we have a flood of workers then leaving assisted living, leaving public entities to go to City of Hope or Santa Teresita? What are the unintended consequences? How have you extrapolated this out?
So I think I'm going to break this up into a few parts.
Okay.
So to answer the first portion of your question, some of the unintended consequences that we may look at is, say the City of Hope did not pass the $25 minimum wage. A lot of the workers that do work at City of Hope can very well go into the City of Los Angeles that did pass the $25 minimum wage ordinance, which would further deepen the amount of workers and create a bigger gap within the short staffing situation that we're currently experiencing.
But then, and I appreciate this, I don't really want to interrupt you,
Mhm.
but then if City of Hope sees this, wouldn't they then be inclined to voluntarily say, hey, they're going to City of Los Angeles, supply and demand would say, let's go ahead and beef up the wages here.
I mean, that would be a very nice situation to have, but it does not directly implement it immediately, which right now we are seeing a lot of our workers at the City of Hope who have to work double shifts or even sometimes have to sleep in their car.
Okay.
And I
All
think
right.
I want to go
And I'm
back a
sorry,
little
go
bit
ahead.
to one of the unintended consequences. When we talk about the 92% number, we have to understand that that's more of a blanket statement that's covering all the healthcare facilities that would be under the ordinances or that are going through circulating within the 10 cities. In the city of Duarte, I don't believe that there are many healthcare facilities outside of the City of Hope that would be directly impacted. So I would want to fact check the number of 92% to make sure that that is a correct number analysis just specifically for the city of Duarte.
Okay, okay. And I'm thinking Santa Teresita, maybe you have talked with the City of Hope. Has anyone spoken with Santa Teresita yet? That's one of our big healthcare units here. Has anyone spoken with them yet?
I would have to check. I'm not sure.
Okay. Okay, other questions or comments? Okay. Thank you. All right, so now we're,
I actually do have a comment.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
go ahead.
After Ty went through that list, I need to recuse myself too. Because the mother of my child, she works for City of Hope, but she operates on a grant. But because this directly has to deal with City of Hope, after that list, she doesn't work on the front lines like most of these people do. But I feel more comfortable if I recuse myself.
Better get off the dais then.
So just as a comment, it is out of an abundance of caution to have Councilmember Chung recuse himself and leave the room. So we wanted to make sure that we had this commentary here.
Okay, good. All right, thank you. Have a good evening, Ben. Okay,
Well, thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the council. Do you have any other questions for me?
I think we're okay. If we do, we'll have you come back up.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
For all your piece.
Okay, do we have some discussion that we want to continue with up here, or is there a motion?
Yeah, Mayor. I think I had expressed it, I expressed my concerns and I truly understand from the medical employees' perspective, it's still tough. It's still a very, very tough situation, especially with the COVID and Omicron. There's a new strain now going on. It's tough. It's definitely tough for a lot of people out there. I really I understand how the employees feel. I feel the same way too. Inflation is just shooting it up to the roof. But at the same time, I think it will be better for us I need to understand, right? If I need to go ahead and make a judgment on this, I need to weigh in on both sides. I don't think anyone of you guys would like to, it would be fair for me to say, okay, just go ahead and vote and be blindsided. I believe I need more data point. So I would like to see more analysis. My recommendation would be to conduct more analysis, and then eventually perhaps we give it to the voters, and then they can the voters can make the call on this matter. But nonetheless, I need to have better analysis or better data points from both sides, understanding how this is going to go ahead and impact from the employer's perspective, and then go from there.
Okay. That was a motion.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
My
We have
motion.
a second for that motion.
Okay, I mean, what was?
Okay. Basically, the first one is to adopt the resolution accepting the certificate as the verification of the signatures from the LA County Office of the Registrar Recorder. And then, so that's an automatic.
Yeah.
And then number two, we can either go ahead and establish an ordinance establishing healthcare workers minimum wage, or adopt a resolution calling to put this onto the general municipal election on November 8th.
Is that what Sam just did?
Yeah, that's, I think his.
Yeah.
Yes, essentially, but he would like to see also some economic analysis on this, and I think we said that this was gonna run, did I see that 5 to 10K?
5 to 10.
Well, council, that's there's actually, those two options are in front of you, right? To either elect to do a first reading of an ordinance, or elect to put it on the November 8th ballot. You actually, at least tonight, you could exercise a third option, which is a little bit of what Councilmember Kang is talking about, where you could say, we don't want to make either of those two decisions tonight. We want to have more analysis done and then come back. But here's the issue here, and then I'm going to qualify this. If that is the decision tonight, we only have 30 days to do that. And I will guarantee you will not get good analysis back in 30 days as a basis to make the kind of very, very good decisions that you want to make, Councilmember Kang. Another option would be, if it's the council's desire, would be to elect this evening to put this on the ballot for voters to decide, but also to say, staff, come back with analysis of this measure, but don't hold us to the 30 days. Give us it's not going to be voted upon until November, right? Give us 60 days, give us 90 days. We can actually do some real analysis, not just for whatever city staffing there might be. We could actually find out that 92% number that there's been some back and forth about. What does that really mean? Is that just, is it verifiable? We won't be able to do all of those things for you so quickly. So my recommendation is, if you're really looking for sound analysis, a basis to make a more informed decision, you're not going to get it in 30 days. I think in that case, it may make more sense, if it's the council's decision anyway, to put this in front of the voters, to tell us to go out, take some more time, and give you and ultimately the voters the kind of analysis that might be useful. Just a thought.
Okay, so let me redo my motion again. So my motion to adopt a resolution accepting the certificate as to verifications of signatures from this Los Angeles County's Registrar, Recorder, County Clerk, and the certificates of sufficiency from the city elections official, right? I'm doing that first. And adopt a resolution calling for a general municipal elections on November 8th, 2022. In addition, just because I need to have more data points, just to be fair on both sides, I am recommending the city staff to do additional analysis to have a better understanding of this situation and report back to us in 90 days so we can weigh in a little bit more.
Okay, so do we all understand what Sam's motion is? Okay, and with that, is there a second?
Council member, may I ask for clarification as to the 500-word impartial analysis? Are you requesting that also or no?
Yes, I am
no.
also requesting that. That would be part of the adoptions of the resolution calling for a general municipal election on November 8th.
And consolidation and directing the impartial analysis. Okay.
Yes.
I also want to just clarify that any report that we do get obviously would be an impartial fiscal analysis, and it would just be presented as data because, as you know, we do not take a position or we do not advocate, thank you, Mr. City Manager, one side or the other. It's just information.
So that's the thing. How can we take a position on this when we don't, right?
So we are not, yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, so that is clear. It's a motion to adopt the verifications and the certificates of sufficiency, to adopt a resolution calling for the general election for the purpose of submitting the question of whether to adopt an ordinance establishing healthcare workers minimum wage in the city of Duarte, and adopt a resolution to request the County Board of Supervisors consolidate the election, as well as adopt a resolution directing the city attorney to prepare an impartial analysis.
Okay,
Now, really quick, sorry, just curious, this ordinance, it guarantees the minimum wage $25. Does it do anything for assuring PPE, assuring other benefits to, this is just the minimum wage
Correct.
ordinance? There's no language on, okay.
There is no language on anything else other than that the employer cannot
Retaliate.
pay the minimum wage by charging for PPE, for example.
okay,
We do need a second.
right, for putting it on the ballot.
I second it.
Okay. So it's been moved and seconded to go with item 1 on the recommendation, which is the verification of the signatures, and item 2, which is adopting a resolution calling for a general municipal election on November 8th, 2022, with the 500-word impartial analysis. And then also, I think, Sam, you were looking for further information within 90 days on what the economic.
And that's just to direct staff to proceed with that. It's not a resolution.
Okay.
That if I may refine that a little bit more, I specifically looking for how it would impact, especially City of Hope, Santa Teresita, how that would impact them, right? If it goes up and would they have to cut hours on the employees? I want to understand that. How is that going to go ahead and fiscally impact them, how they operate, and especially for the reimbursements. I don't know. What the next year's reimbursement is going to be. If it is going to be less or from what is that, Cal?
Yeah, nonprofits.
No, they get money from like Medi-Cal or whatever and so on. You know, I just want to understand how it is going to go and impact them, just to have a better understanding.
I think staff can work with either our team or a consultant to determine the most affected employers if possible.
I feel like I'm a hospital administrator now.
Then, Councilmember Kang, yes, your qualification and refinement is noted. We will give the city council the very best objective, impact analysis we can possibly get, given the data and the time that we have. So noted.
Okay, so do we have any more discussion on this? On the motion? Okay. Do we want to, we can either do a roll call, or if there are no objections to this, then it will be the order.
So for clarification, it was 4 yes and 2 recuse, one of whom was out of an abundance of caution.
Right.
Council members Trung and Schultz.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you to all the people that came here to speak. Okay, we are now at item it would be item 9C, which is the award of contract to PUB Construction for the construction of Duarte City Hall ADA Improvement Project, CDBG project, bunch of numbers, and approval of a general fund budget amendment in the amount of $94,000.
Thank you very much. This is the Courtyard ADA Improvement project. As you might remember, a few months ago, we put this out to bid and we didn't have any qualified bids at the time. We do this time. So we're recommending Hub Construction, who gave us a bid of $1,328,347, be awarded the contract. They were the lowest qualified bidder. We're also recommending a 20% contingency.
Hold on. Jody won't be coming back, but we do need to get Vin.
Oh, okay. I will pause.
Okay, where is Vin?
I think we also need a quorum.
Mr. Hensley, you really did something to the crowd
You
and
know,
the council.
I could clear room.
Don't take
That
it
was-
personally.
that was
No, I'm not
extraordinary.
taking it personally at all. I might have been a good thing. I don't know, but I would have practiced my stand-up routine had I known that this is going to happen. A city manager walks into a bar.
With a dog.
That's right. And he's still there.
Wonder how far Vin went.
City of Hope. All right, tell them to bring me a Target application.
This will stand up. Oh, you know what? I'll go down and get this, cards, just put in something for his item.
I think we need those things like you get in a restaurant, you know, when your reservation is ready, they'll walk out, use the vibrates, right?
Councilman Garcia is hungry, and so am I.
Hey, all you Hello Kitty fans, there we go. Okay, go ahead. I rarely have seen anybody who is as anxious to give their presentation.
Well, I made the mistake of eating a salad for lunch today. That's part of the problem. Should have had steak. Anyway, this is for the courtyard project. It's bringing the courtyard out here up to ADA standards. The lowest bidder that was responsive was Pub Construction at $1,328,347. We are suggesting, in addition to this, and this is the reason for the budget amendment, 20% contingency. That's higher than we would normally do on jobs. We hopefully won't need to spend that, but one of the reasons it's a little bit higher is when the City Hall facility was built, every time we've done work around here, there's lots of surprises. And it's just one of those things where we might have surprises. So we'll attempt to keep those costs down as much as possible. I do want to point out this is partly general fund and also partly from CDBG funds, and that's very fortunate for the city. We'd recommend the City Council award the Duarte City Hall ADA Improvement Project to Pub Construction in the amount of $1,328,347 and make a budget amendment for $94,000. And like I said, hopefully we won't be spending that.
Is that going to include our water feature?
Margaret, it will include the plumbing and the electrical for a water feature that might go in the future. The complexity of doing a water feature along the wall over here is something I promise we will get to at some point. But you know, we're attempting to get through this construction project as quickly as possible.
Wait,
In other words, no.
can I have a better understanding? $1.3 million, what are we doing?
It is access with a ramp from the street, the entire courtyard facility redone, handicap improvements going all the way out to the parking lot and new handicap spaces.
Okay, let me
There's a
ask,
lot of concrete.
okay, let me ask you this. Now you say a handicap ramp, uh-oh, here comes Lino. A handicap ramp from the street down. Do you have to have that?
It's required.
But wait a minute, why can't they just drive into the parking lot and have handicap access that way?
We actually have to have both. There needs to be access to the street. One of the things that's been done as part of the design is that the design from that street on that ramp will be a no railing ramp. So there won't be railings out in front of the fitness center. And all this will be well landscaped also. This is this bid is within what we estimated, and this part is this was part of the budget that we adopted a couple months ago.
Do we have a design of how this is going to turn out? Does it have like gold?
No, it's not gold.
Or
there on page 4 of the staff report, there's a layout of the plan.
But do we have like a street view of it? Am I going to walk in here after it's all done and go, holy mackerel?
You're
that was
gonna say
totally
wow.
worth it."
You'll say wow.
Okay.
1.3 million.
I'm sorry, everybody left the most exciting part. Wow. Came back to like a half empty room.
Craig cleared the room.
Yes, I did.
Now this courtyard can also be rented out as an extension of our community center and can make some,
Well, I'll leave that to Manuel, but
that'd be nice.
I guess in theory it's possible.
Waterfalls bring mosquitoes.
Not if we keep them chlorinated or else have mosquito fish in them.
Well, I don't know, with the drought, I don't know, do we want waterfall?
They have.
Hey, Craig, I'm sorry.
Water features.
Where am I supposed to see this?
It's this thing right there, Sam.
That's there's a layout of the area on page 4 of the staff report, project site plan.
See, like, there's the fitness center right there. There's the swimming pool. What's that D in the middle there for? It looks like it's on our roof.
No, the D in the middle, it's going to be in the a concrete D and it's the city logo. generally the area where the old fountain was.
Okay, and then we're gonna kind of have a stage in there too, right?
Yes,
A stage.
all based on the requests we've had in the past.
But no water feature. Yeah.
Mayor, we're in a drought. No water.
I'm just saying, $1.3 million for concrete. Wow, okay. How's the landscaping of Huntington Drive going? I'm just curious.
Well,
I do want to say that is not agendized.
however, if someone were to ask me that question in about 15 minutes, I have an
Okay.
answer.
All right, so basically this is just, we've already approved the 1 point whatever.
You haven't, and keep on, it's all I did, yeah, excuse me, interrupting, but a hefty portion of this is from CDBG funds, which, you know, we're fortunate to have to help with the accessibility. And these are all accessibility improvements that need to be made. Their accessibility improvements need to be made. It will look good also. So it's not going to be just straight concrete. There's going to be some decorative, there's going to be decorative paving, and that the D will be of some aesthetic quality. I mean, so there's some good things to this. There'll be a small stage area, new lighting. It'll be an area that can be usable.
The D later?
How much is the difference from what we approved before, previous?
Well, in the budget, $1.5 million is approved, and the additional 94 here is just to take us to 20% contingency. The plan really is not to spend that, but as I think pointed out maybe before you walked in, is that one of the issues that we've had basically all around the city hall facility, where there's in the building or anything we've done, is there's just a lot of unknowns because there wasn't as built when they built this. So we are a little bit concerned that, you know, when we start removing things, there may be some questions, but our attempt will be to try to stick to as closely to that bid amount as possible.
So this additional thing that we're voting on is just for contingencies.
That's right.
If we peel back some cement and we see this, there's issues.
That's
and
right.
stuff like that.
Got a question on this. During the weekends, I sometimes see a lot of kids would use their skateboards going on Huntington, and they would just skate right down onto the stairway. Is that something that we can prevent if we're going to spend $1.5 million?
Yeah, the railings are designed to limit that, and you know, with railings, you just try to do the best you can. But that was kept. We kept that in mind as they were designing the railings that could kind of go down that stairway.
Okay, any other questions or comments, or Craig, are you done?
Craig, is that D gonna light up? I still waiting to hear that answer.
From above, the lighting will be nice. It will be as lit as we want it, but it won't be internally lit. No.
That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money for my D not to be lit up, Craig.
I'll motion.
Okay, there's been a motion and a
Second.
second to approve the contingency.
I was gonna say, Sam, I used to skate, so it doesn't matter what the railing is. We're gonna try to use it anyways.
Yeah, but we're spending
Yeah,
$1.5 million.
to that comment, I used
on
to skate,
concrete.
so I don't care what the railing is, as long as there's a railing, I'm gonna try to use it. 'cause I
Well, we
used
need to
skate
find
too.
something to build and protect that. We're spending $1.5 million of our constituents' money.
And
Okay.
then we're gonna have security out there for you.
Okay, I think we had a member of the public that would like to speak to this.
Brian, I hope you're listening to. Brian, I hope you.
Mayor Barros, District 9. A million here, a million there, a million there. Pretty soon you're talking about real money, as they say in Congress. Anyway, going back to ADA. During the fireworks celebration, I saw at least 3 council members really having fun, swimming, dancing, you know it. And who knows, one of these days they might break their leg and would have a hard time going the ramp here, going down. And case in point is that, as I have suggested before, is that to have a ADA type from either that side or that side for any council members in the future that might have not necessarily physical type thing, but accident and so on, so they can function to mingle or to do their function dealing with the public. Now, I'm not suggesting $1 million ramp in there, an aluminum that probably cost 199.99 at Home Depot would suffice. But that's just a suggestion for the ADA type, because again, as I said, you never know when somebody will have an accident, and hopefully not, it doesn't happen. That among you guys, and you cannot go up and down that conveniently. That's all. Thank you. And consider that in your future ADA study or project budgeting, but not $1 million. Thank you.
$1.5 million to be correct.
Motion and a second. And do we,
Should have that water.
okay. And do we have any further discussion? Any objections? If not, so ordered. You know what? We need more women up here.
I do want to say that standing water creates mosquitoes and running water creates those biting flies.
Black flies.
Black flies. So lose-lose situation.
I'm with you, Ty, and we on a drought.
Okay, we are at item 10, which is continuation of oral communications. Do we have anyone in the audience that would like to speak?
Little parents. First up, I'd like to thank Mayor Finley and the rest of the council and the staff for treating my daughter very nice and well during her last few years and few days. And I really appreciate. I'd like to mention special people here, but not now, in terms of extra mile that they have taken into consideration for treating my daughter. So again, as I said, I appreciate that very much from the bottom of my heart and from my family and so on. And good night. Thank you. Appreciate the thing with my daughter. Thank you.
Thank you.
And by the way, one last thing, if I may. Casey Karachi proposed to my daughter here in the podium. So
And-
seen your videos. I saw that part.
Not only did he propose here, and I was here,
Okay.
she also announced to the world that she was having a baby here.
She was having a baby girl?
No, she
What?
announced that she was having Jack.
Guess what? They kept that a secret from me. I didn't even know that until it was on the way. But hey, we learned a lot of things, you know.
Right, come to city council meetings so you can learn all this.
I
stuff.
know that, you know, sorry, I missed some 2 days, you know. I'll do my job better next time.
All right, thank you, Lena. We all loved your daughter too. Okay, so we are now at item 11, which is items from everybody here. So I'll go on down through the line. Brian, Craig, Manuel, Dan, Ty, you really got a lot of work tonight. We finally got the $400 an hour out of.
It is on record that I am not $400 an hour. Thank you, sir.
25 an hour, right? Okay. Then,
Nothing.
Tony,
I'd just like to say, and I'd just like to say thanks to the council, and for the people that came out tonight. I mean, we heard you, we listened to you. But it's kind of a tough situation for all of us to make a decision like that without hearing both sides. I, just like everyone else, I was an EMT. I worked at an ambulance company, and working at the ambulance company at the time, at the ambulance company, a EMT made $10 an hour. But if you
No, $6.50.
Yeah,
$6.50.
it was something. But if you worked inside the hospital as an EMT, you were automatically, you got $15 to $12 an hour. And I didn't understand why, because they didn't do nothing but change bedpans and stuff like that. But that being said, I could have easily went to an EMT inside the hospital, but I didn't want to be a nurse. I wanted to be a firefighter. So I chose the profession that, so you got to make some sacrifices, basically what I'm trying to say. But I'm not insensitive to that. My mom was a registered nurse. She worked here in Duarte, right behind. It was a convalescent home at the time. It was right behind Columbia Bowl. I don't remember the name because it was a long time ago. And so healthcare workers are very important. And, just because we didn't make a decision tonight, that doesn't mean we don't stand by you. And I like to thank what I'm trying to, Pamela Park, the MAD Council. I went to their function at the park, their community function. It was pretty good. Catherine Vargas was there. She spoke highly of, she loves us. And she was saddened. We all are saddened by Zaida's passing. She told me to relate it to my colleagues and my Duarte family. And also, the 4th of July show was outstanding. And I guess right here on the recording, I want to tell Emmanuel, I apologize for being a little overbearing as far as the fire inspector. I just, I guess it's the fireman in me. I can't get it out. So I apologize for being a little overbearing, but we made it work and it was a great show. And just want to say thank you to you and your staff, or the entire staff. And that's about all. Everything. Good night.
Manuel, next year, when we get ready to have a fireworks show, we'll keep him busy on the upper field so he doesn't go down the lower field.
I didn't know you're Inspector Lewis, or should I call you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Inspector Lewis.
And I was
Inspector Gadget.
trying to get signed off first. I even have my fireworks certificate, so I can do it.
Okay, all right. Well, Manuel and Parks and Recs, you guys, wow. I think this is the third time now, and definitely this is like over the top. This one is the best one yet. And with all the food trucks, public safety, I mean, everyone just well organized, the stage, how you guys placed it in a little bit more, and in the back you can see that, City of Duarte sign. That was pretty amazing. That was just so it was just so American. You can see that the City of Duarte with red, white, and blue, and our American flags, and just everything was just so placed perfectly. And my kids had a great time with all that jumpers and all that stuff. I think that was so awesome to have. The deputies, sheriffs, thank you so much for providing the safety. I think it just turned out to be a great, great night for City of Duarte and even for the people around the San Gabriel Valley, right? I noticed that I think a lot of people were not from the city a lot, especially when I was just walking out. I have to walk probably a mile to go ahead and get to my car, and you can see all these cars, man. They're just jetting out and egressing out of a 210 or the 605 and so on. Great show, definitely. It was super awesome. Yeah, I'm so thrilled. Yeah, I'm very, very proud of our city, and we well, staff wise, you guys did it. You guys did a great job at it. The second thing I want to go ahead and talk about really quick is the Caltrans. And Dr. Jordan, I think I texted you before about this. This is something that's quite interesting to me. I noticed that the 605 going eastbound is always right. They're having construction at night, and then all the trucks, all these 18-wheelers, all the Class 8s with their trailers and so on, they're egressing onto Huntington. And I think there was a sign around Erindale. I don't know, maybe. Well, anyways, there was a sign saying that do not get off on Huntington, but everyone's getting off on Huntington, and probably Vin, you can view that too. I mean, it's like at night, it's Huntington turns to the 210. What do we do about that? Or can we do anything about that? And I noticed there's another sign now that they're about to go ahead and close down the off ramp. That's another subject, but is there anything we can do to prevent these trucks from going onto Huntington?
I'm going to defer to our public. I mean, obviously the signs, enforcement, and beyond that, we'll see what we can do.
Yeah, there is enforcement. So we actually had a meeting with Baldwin Park CHP, and the request was made through Caltrans for additional enforcement along Huntington on trucks that decide to disregard the notices and our posted signs. So there will be enforcement, plus we'll have our motor deputy out looking, and we'll advise our traffic unit. So
sorry, Brian, thank you for the information, but even at night, we're gonna have traffic cops, or
we even at night we have traffic deputies.
Okay,
all 3 shifts.
Okay,
and they're the ones that generally patrol for the Vulcan trucks
Right.
that generally disturb you. So yeah. So
Okay.
they'll still be out.
Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate that. It's just,
welcome.
you know, I see it every night.
I know, we're worried about it too. That's why we made that request.
Okay, thank you. And finally, I think this is for you, Craig, is you know, I talked about this probably half a year ago, when I am getting off on the 605 freeway, right next to Huntington. On my right-hand side, you can see a lot of these big shrubs, and they're all pretty much all dried and dead now. Is there any way we can ask Caltrans to clean it up? I know we did that a few years back before. Perhaps I just want to remind, you know, us to, if we can clean that up, that would just make our city look better.
East side?
On the east side. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, thank you. That's all I have. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Sam. Yes, Caesar.
I want to echo a lot of what Councilmember Lewis mentioned tonight. I think these are some of the decisions that are tough to make, because I don't think anybody up here is unappreciative of what our healthcare workers do or insensitive. Like I mentioned earlier, I myself work at an assisted living, skilled nursing, and independent living facility where I bartend. And due to, it sounds funny, but hey, they can drink.
You bartend there?
I bartend there.
Would you be an essential worker there?
Well, that's my question. Would I fall under the
Drinking is essential.
But I think we've all seen staff shortages everywhere. We face them too, and I myself have had to go into COVID affected rooms to, you know, help out the team when we've been down. So I understand the need. I understand the initiative, but making a decision tonight, just with the information I have in hand, would have been irresponsible. So I'm appreciative that we are going to do some assessment on that. Like I mentioned earlier, seeing when the minimum wage went up at that specific facility, a lot of my friends got their hours cut. So actually, even now, we're not working the 8 hours, most of us, which has hurt people, and they've had to get second jobs and other part-times. That's why I became a council member, the big pay. I'm just kidding.
You better reapply.
But
You better go for Target.
But I just want to let the record show that we are appreciative of all the work that our healthcare workers do. On a side note, that Independence Day celebration, it was my first one attending, and I was blown away. It took days to kind of get hyped down with all that energy. A lot of nice touches, a lot of attention to detail. My hats off to Manuel and Parks and Recreation team. The first thing I saw when I walked through the gates was the Hello Kitty jumper. That was an emotional touch. And the last song you played during the fireworks show was just, I think it broke a lot of us.
Had a lot of us in tears.
And I really enjoyed the 50-50 raffle signage, very Dodgers, go Dodgers. That was awesome. Our public safety team, great job. I think it went with no incidents. It was smooth night, traffic was smooth. Big thank you to all the volunteers that worked traffic, the DART volunteers, Mayor's Youth Council, Duarte Dance did a great job. You've set the bar high. Can't wait for next year. So I'm just very appreciative of the whole team, everybody, the whole city of Duarte was there, all hands on deck. Victoria, Susie, it was great to see the whole team. Also, I want to invite everybody this Saturday at 1 o'clock will be a golf tournament in support of Duarte's boxing. So golfers and non-golfers, I'll see you there.
Are you a golfer?
Oh, poorly.
But
But
so
yeah,
you
yeah,
never play golf?
I own a set of clubs, so we'll be out there right after the memorial service for inside. So hope to see you guys there, and thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Okay, Brian? Fireworks, how'd it go on July 4th? Did we make a lot of money?
I tried.
The brief version is, since I will have my public safety update on the next council, is we issued 12 citations at $1,000 a piece.
Oh,
So-
wow.
But it was still very quiet. And we had to work hard to get those. I had council member Trong texted me locations, didn't come up anywhere there around him, but overall it was very quiet in the city. It's actually quieter in the county. There were a significant amount of units in that area. Wasn't perfect, wasn't like Duarte, but it was a lot better. Irwindale, that was a spectacular show down in Irwindale. It was really something to see. So, but overall Duarte looked good.
And I'm trying to think, that's more than usual, isn't it? 12?
I'll have to look back. I think it's right about a little slightly over average. I think we've been hitting around 9, 10. I'd have to look back at my last ones, but we were happy with it.
I went out driving about 10 o'clock on July 4th, in the areas that typically were hit. And there was nothing.
Yeah, it was sporadic. We lucked out into a couple just driving around the corner when they happened to light it off. So, but it was a very inexpensive firework that they lit off.
I think they all went to LA City.
Yeah, I saw LA City's report. It was bad. But I'm very proud of Duarte and the 4 years since we enacted the ordinance, and even after that first year, it was really excellent. But now I think everybody's except for a few, but there's always going to be a few and it's okay.
Wow. Okay. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
And again, I think there would be a whole lot more complaining if we didn't have such a good alternative with our fireworks show.
Very true.
It is just such a, well, I know I sent it to both Dan and Manuel, and this was from John Fasana, and it said, FYI from my nephew. Hi, Uncle John. I just wanted to let you know that the blank fireworks show was probably one of the worst fireworks show I have ever seen. The Duarte show was like 100 times better. So good on Duarte.
Can I fill in a blank?
No, you cannot. So anyway, just everything works. Everything works. The food trucks, just the activities. It's 3.5 hours of just a lot of fun. So anyway, thank you. I know it was a huge project, but it really reflected well on our city. So appreciate everybody working on it and pulling together. So and I think that's about it for me. Just want to remind people 10 o'clock on Saturday is going to be Zeidel's memorial service, and probably come early. Have we figured out, are we going to be able to stream that thing?
Short answer is yes.
Okay. Okay, that is great.
And the simple answer, yes. Yeah.
Okay, then that will be great, because I know that there are a number of people that knew her that are maybe housebound, and they can't get out. So anyway, I think that's a wrap. Thank you very much for hanging in there, guys. And we'll see you all on Saturday. All right, thank you. We are adjourned.